Tradingsolutions. I hope you're looking after yourself, being kind to yourself, being kind to your family and friends, being kind to your beautiful putty cats, your beautiful dogs, and just being kind to strangers in the world just to make it a better place. It's a really weird situation at the moment. It's almost surreal. We're in lockdown in Melbourne, in Victoria, and the streets are really quiet. There's no noise. Gyms are being closed. Lots of things are being closed, and it's almost like a really surreal feeling. It's quite weird, I have to say. You go out to the front, and there's no traffic on the road, and all the cafes are shut. It's just really odd, I have to say. But anyway, not to worry. I suppose a lot of people are going through this as well, so it's all very strange. Today I thought I'd do a cryptocurrency market overview, which there's always a lot to talk about when we talk about cryptocurrency. And I did say the other day that I really believe that cryptocurrency was cheap, and it's still very cheap. This is not financial advice. It's just what I'm thinking for my own investment portfolio, but I do believe it is very cheap at the moment. And there's always so much going on. So I thought I'd go through a lot of information through Slack, and just all the information I look at in a day. And don't forget, if you look at my Patreon, it's great value for $45, $45 a month US. You get everything, access to Slack, all my reviews, all my videos, selected videos, exclusive videos, early videos. You also get a free course which we have on Udemy, what's cryptocurrency, what's it all about, through our Kickstarter program that we did last year. You get access to Slack. You get access to trading videos, you get access to crypto reviews, you get access to my investment portfolio, you get access to a lot of stuff, only for $45 for Patreon, right, per month. Now, if you were going to pay for a subscription of mine, it'd cost you about $600 US for a year. So, the $45 one in Patreon is seriously good, and you get exclusive videos. I do a lot of videos in Patreon which you don't get to see on YouTube, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now today, and I'll put the link up for patrons, I'd really appreciate it if you support me. Today, just want to go through the investment timetables and that sort of thing for cryptocurrency news. And today, the 24th, US FFC hearing on domestic and international approaches to digital currency. There's quite a lot going on about this at the moment. On 25th of March, ETC and Phoenix upgrade block. CME futures on March 30th settle. The 31st of March, Bitcoin submission deadlines for claims. Don't forget, Bitcoin Cash is halving on the 8th of April. Now that's got to do with the fees that are paid to the miners, okay? CMC Bitcoin futures settlement date on the 27th of April. Bitcoin halving on May the 12th. Now the miners normally get paid fees 12.5. Bitcoin, it's now 0625, okay? So what that means is it's not as much Bitcoin that's going to be actually mined, okay? So you've got future settlements going forward. July the 30th, Ethereum phase 0 launch for Ethereum 2. You've got more futures settling. Atari launches Crypto Casino. Some of the soft catalysts, March 20th, March, Cardano implements buy and reboot. Cardano releases Shelley Mainnet, BSV halving. April, LineLink digital currency launches. April, Japan tightens rules on crypto margin trading. Chinese government launches blockchain service network. And as you can see, a few other things, okay? SZEC is halving and so forth, okay? So if we go to my Slack, there's a lot of information in Slack, heaps of stuff, okay? And this is updated daily. So what I want to bring to your attention in Slack is there's just a lot going on in terms of digital currency. There's a lot of talk about governments going to digital currency, particularly with this, coronavirus, okay, because no one wants to handle cash, right? So before I do that, what I'll do is I just wanted to take you through other news, but look, we can go quickly through this and then I'll take you through other news, okay? So what we've got here is a lot of the central banks are talking about going into digital currency. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, weighs into the pros and cons of a centralized bank digital currency. Now there is some talk about that, and certainly it's something we need to be aware of. If we have a look, there's been a speech with the managing director of the IMF, Tao Zhang, briefed the positives and negatives of a central bank digital currency, okay? He pointed towards greater efficiency and lower costs associated with the central bank digital currency. In some countries, the cost of managing cash can be very high on account of geography and access to the payment system, and may not be able to be available to the unbanked, rural or poorer population, he said. And don't forget, in Africa, a lot of people use the mobile phone, at least 50 to 60%. And in China, even in the poor rural areas, 70% of people use mobile phones, okay? So it's a lot of people we're talking about. In China, it's something like 700 million people use mobile phones. So it's no wonder the Chinese central bank wants to go to centralized digital currency. Also with the coronavirus in China, no one wanted to handle cash, okay? Because cash has all sorts of germs in it, right? The IMF director touched on increased financial inclusion. CBDC may provide a public digital means of payment without requiring individuals to hold a bank account. So they see a lot of benefits in CBDC, including stability and the strengthening of the monetary system, okay? Now, when you think about it, you know, our finances, my individual finances or your individual finances, shouldn't be really, when you think about it, shouldn't have to be aligned to, you know, the Aussie dollar or the US dollar, or how badly or how poorly government politicians, you know, manage the balance sheets of our countries, right? Why should my finances go up and down because, you know, bad politicians make bad decisions for the balance sheet of this country, Australia, for example, and then, you know, the Australian dollar devaluates and my money goes down according to, you know, against the US dollar, for example. You know, my wealth goes down because of it, which is sort of out of my control unless I hedge it. It shouldn't be the case. I don't believe that. And I think governments, you know, certainly globally have, you know, mismanaged many economies. And, you know, I don't think it's a great story. Then Zhang goes on to say a domestically issued digital currency backed by a trusted government denominated in the domestic unit of account may help limit the adoption of privately issued currencies, i.e. stablecoins, which may be difficult to regulate and could pose risks to the financial stability and monetary policy transmission. I don't necessarily believe what he says there, I have to say, because stablecoins, as I said before, are not stable. They're always aligned to a bucket of currencies or you know, a number of currencies or one currency. They could even be aligned to gold. Now, if gold goes up or a currency goes up or down, the stable coin is going to go up and down with that currency or that gold, okay? So it's not stable, and that's it. What it's talking about is the stable relativity of it against the commodity or the currency, okay? I'd rather have a digital currency against gold because I'm very bullish gold, and there's a lot of suggestion out there that a lot of the gold companies at the moment have so many orders they have to they can't deliver to all those orders in terms of gold nuggets and that. And what you see, that's what you see when you see implosions in market, okay, in markets. Now, I did a video the other day, why isn't gold going up? And I did say I believe that, you know, according to Alistair McLeod, they had a gold target price of 2,600 US. And I do believe, my own personal opinion, this is not financial advice, I do believe gold's going there. And we have seen overnight that gold's gone up $200 US, okay? And against the Aussie even more because the Aussie's actually been depreciating. Right, so in my view, a digital currency-backed coin should be, you know, against gold or something like that, not against a currency. Because, you know, the currency is against how well the balance sheet of the government works, right? The balance sheet of the country. Now, if the balance sheet of the country has been screwed up, you know, then the currency is going to go to zero, like we saw with, you know, Rhodesia/Zimbabwe. Rhodesia used to be the, you know, one of the most richest countries in the world in Africa. It used to be called the fruit bowl of Africa in the 70s with Ian Smith under its guidance. Then obviously it changed hands and went to the local people and changed its name to Zimbabwe. And then we know what happened under Mugabe, okay? The currency, you know, went to hell, and, you know, literally the currency is valueless, right? So, you know, our own profitability or our own wealth, in my mind, this is my own view, and you may disagree with it or not, I don't believe my wealth should be connected to the bad management of you know, the balance sheet of the country, right? I just don't believe it should be. It's just not right. So if the government's, you know, stuff up completely, you know, why should the currency keep going down and my wealth goes down because of it, right? Unless I can hedge that. So I just feel that the, you know, central bank digital currency is a better way to go, okay? But the IMF also mentioned negative sides of CBDC as well. Obviously, they're worried about how to limit any potential risk with using a CBDC. But in my mind, you couldn't get more risky than currency itself. You know, if the currency keeps going down because of bad management of the balance sheet, you know, or it's being sold, you know, by the speculators because of all the terrible economic data. I mean, how risky would that be if the currency keeps going lower and lower? And it's a question of whether the banks can use it or whether they can't, right? But you know, Zhang said, you know, what's the risk and what are the expenses if banks introduce CBDC? He said it'd be very costly for banks to add CBDC. It's only because central banks are using geriatric or old legacy systems, right? You know, that was established like SWIFT in 1973, and everything, you know, everything in banking, you know, there's so many different departments and different sections in banking. People think it's just one big mass of one section. It's not. You know, you've got lending, you've got retail bank, you've got, you know, over-the-counter stuff, you've got treasury, you've got lending, you've got structured lending, you've got private bank, you've got, you know, fixed income, you've got all sorts of things, all different silos. You've got the credit department, the risk department, and they all have different silos and all different, you know, in systems, you know, different types of systems for what they need in terms of their risk management or credit management or their payment system or whatever. And all those systems operate separately together, and they have to combine them all somehow to get all that information out. The systems aren't actually combined together, they don't integrate, and they need to get all that information out for the central banks, right? So any new system put into the banking system is very difficult to implement because the banks can't close, right? They're a 24-hour business, and it's, you know, they can't actually close and say to people, look, you know, we're shutting for 2 weeks to put in a new system, right? If the banks said that to the people, you know, they'd think, oh my God, what's going on here? The banks are going broke, right? You know, so they can't actually do that. So it's very difficult to upgrade banking systems because banks, as I said, are 24/7, right? So it is very difficult for any change in a bank to do anything, right? And, you know, even with the CBDC, if banks and central banks, you know, took on this, then, you know, there's got to be a whole different set of rules for the payment, for how it's going to work, how does it interface with clients, you know, the front office wallets, as this guy says, you know, the technology itself, monitoring the system, all sorts of things, right? You know, having the distributed ledger type system or the blockchain type system, right? So there's a lot to go into any sort of central bank distributed currency, okay? You know, it is a very difficult thing to do, you know, to get all the banks to start accepting it, particularly if the central bank's starting to use it, okay? We know that Sweden's starting to test it. We know there's a lot of countries out there that are very interested. Russia's been talking about it. You know, China's been talking about it against gold. There's so many countries that are actually looking at this at the moment, and I do believe it is the way to go, but it's probably going to take a bit longer than some of us think. Maybe China's going to be the first to do it, and they've got every reason to do it, simply because of controlling this terrible virus, right? And every other bank has, in my mind, too, but some are just quicker than others, okay? Another article here about that: could central bank digital currency replace fiat? And you know, probably in the future, you know, it probably could replace fiat, because as I said, you know, why should we be aligned, you know, our finances to, you know, a decline in currency, for example? You know, and again, a central bank digital currency, you know, backed by a reserve bank, or could be used as a means of payment or a unit of account, right? You know, and certainly China, you know, wants to get ahead and do this, right? You know, some are looking at cryptocurrency maybe against Bitcoin, or some are looking at it against gold. Now, don't forget, if they do look at it against gold, it's going to propel the price of gold up even further. And I think there's a chance they could do that, because it's almost like a digital currency against the gold standard, okay? Like they had, you know, back in the 1900s with England, right? And everything was against the gold standard. Excuse me. So, you know, and in some ways it would replace the fiat, you know, the fiat currency. You know, and that these are two sort of ideas, you know, will it replace fiat, or will it be something else, okay? You know, separate to fiat. You know, but again, it's got to be something that it would have to go through the interbank and be accepted by the central bank as well as the other banks, right? The other banks that have to interlink with the central bank, okay? I mean, the thing is, Bitcoin, as I said before, is old technology produced in 2008. I could never see Bitcoin being attached to a central bank digital currency, because you never know when it's going to settle, because of the miners. The miners have way too much power, and now that their fees are being going to be dropped in half, I can't see Bitcoin as being a viable option. Even a digital currency with a bag of different currencies behind it, I still don't see that as an optimal solution, right? In my mind, they should be using something like Ripple and XRP for a digital currency. That's my view, particularly because Ripple's technology can instantly settle. It can create liquidity, and also it can be seen as a unit of exchange as well, okay? So we know that the Bank of England's looking at it. A lot of the other banks are looking at it, as I said. Even the United Nations, has spoken about it. And it's just a question of who's going to get there first in terms of the centralized, banking, central bank digital currency, right? And again, what's it going to be backed by, and will it be accepted as legal tender? Okay, and even the World Economic Forum published some story about this and looked at different banks, right? Apparently the Bank of Canada, Cambodia, Central Bank of Uruguay, Bank of Thailand, People's Bank of China, East Caribbean Central Bank have all agreed to use Toolkit to draw up plans for their own potential central bank digital currency, okay? Governments of Tunisia, Senegal, and Venezuela and the Marshall Islands have completed successful trials for the launch of state-backed digital currency, right? The central banks of Japan, Sweden, Switzerland and the Eurozone have joined hands with the Bank of International Settlements for developing centralised bank digital currencies. It remains to be seen whether other banks are following this approach towards a central bank digital currency or not, okay? The only thing is, if you have currency behind the centralised bank digital currency, it just defeats the whole purpose of currency, right? Because not all currency is liquid. Okay, not all currency has a bid-off spread like Ripple, where it's as tight, where you can have volume, but there may not be any liquidity, right? And the currency itself may not be a proper medium of exchange, because, like I said, the currency is attached to the balance sheet of the country. And if the balance sheet of the country is mismanaged by politicians, then the currency goes down, okay? So I don't see currency as, fiat currency as being a viable option for central bank digital currency. I see XRP as being a viable option because it's the only cryptocurrency out there that can, be done and settled cash within 3 seconds. But I don't see any other cryptocurrencies being a viable option for central bank digital currency. The only other one I could possibly see is gold, and that's probably about it. Okay, very simply. So what else we got here in our books of tricks? Again, we've got, it looks like a fund went down, the gurgler, because of all this volatility. Again, look at this. Silvergate's clients experienced out-buy wire issues tied to problems with the federal wire payment processor. There is a reason to have, XRP and use digital, XRP's digital currency for payments, right? Because the Ripple payment system doesn't have these sort of problems where there's wire transfer issues and payment problems, or where SWIFT has payment problems and there's malicious attacks, like the Bank of Bangladesh, where they lost 600 million because a bad actor got into the SWIFT payment system, the messaging system, and sent 600 million somewhere else, right? So there's a lot of reasons why, Ripple should be used, and their payment system. Also with this COVID thing, the US eyes digital dollar to send aid to the unbanked, okay? So there's talk about this in the latest version of a response bill. So let's just quickly go into that and have a look. And these are the sort of stories, get updated all the time. COVID-19 stimulus, US Congress eyes digital dollar to send aid to the unbanked, right? So, obviously there's been a massive stimulus package in response to the coronavirus. Democrats in the United States House of Reps looks to implement the digital dollar to strengthen payments to US citizens outside of the traditional financial system. So there's been a draft of legislation circulating as March 23 proposed the creation of digital wallets for US citizens to be maintained by the Federal Reserve with a section entitled Direct Stimulus Payment for Families. Okay, the section envisages 2,000 monthly payments to every adult earning less than $75,000 a year, and which points the payments taper off. These payments would last until the economy recovers. Okay, massive stimulus package. We know that they're doing a lot on that side of things, but again, they're just they have mentioned digital dollars. Okay, now we don't know when that's going to really happen or not, but the fact that they're thinking about it, these politicians, when they've always been considered, in the US, they've been way behind the curve when we talk about digital currency or even blockchain or distributed ledger technology like Ripple, for example. Okay, so the fact that they're aware of it and they're talking about it, is a good story in itself. Okay, and that's what we want. So let's just have a look at other things here and see if there's anything else here. Moving across quickly. Right, what else we got here? Just going up. Okay, so we know the Bank of China is certainly talking about centralized digital currency. We know that. Someone said the US should use stable coins for emergency coronavirus payments. But again, they're not stable. They're always going to be against something, right? Which is going to move up and down. Okay, so people need to be aware of that. We've gone through that story there. They have extended trillions and trillions of dollars. Lots is going on there. But this stable coins, this central bank digital currency story, will keep going. And what's this one here? Chronotech launches Australian dollar stable in spite of big four banks. That's interesting. So finding a bank to hold coins reserves is the biggest challenge. Okay, that's very interesting. But there is a lot going on here. Keep an eye on it, because I think certainly with this coronavirus, that using basically fiat currency is the answer to the issue of liquidity and store of value. I think XRP is the way to go on that side of things, certainly for the store of value and the liquidity issue. Okay, and that's a fact. So I'll leave it at that. I just want to have a very quick look while I'm here with you. Just the other stories that we're seeing. There's a couple of stories I wanted to bring to your attention. We know that the Fed's in there giving incredible liquidity to the market. They've unveiled an open-ended QE, including corporate bonds and mortgage-backed securities. So that's incredible in itself. Okay, so there is a lot going on. I'll cover that in another video, but I just wanted to have a quick look at news in cryptocurrency markets. The market was up last night, which is fantastic. I do think it's very cheap at the moment, and just want to have a quick look at the top news just to cover that. I think we know about that. Texas will reach settlement soon as lawsuits become a burden. We know about the House stimulus bill envisages a digital dollar to ease coronavirus recessions. Central banks say that 80% of Australians are aware of crypto, but only 1% actually use it. We know that. That's pretty consistent with the rest of the world. Okay, and that's what I was saying. You need everyone to be in things to basically make things go up. Thai Fintech firm D-Money signs on RippleNet. Awesome, which we want to hear that when we talk about Ripple. What else is going on here? Digital currency hedge fund calls it quits after bits. Yeah, they got knocked out and lost all their money. And Bain Fund, Tron price going up, as we know. Just very quickly, what's the latest news here? And I like to look at these as well. Right. Anything going on there? Monero, quick resolution arrested. Okay, most red news, just very quickly. And the market, as I said, was up, anything from 8 to 10%, which is great. So I think, we'll see a bounce in the market. It looks cheap to me. It looks very cheap, and I do think it'll go up higher from here. The cryptocurrency market, it's way too cheap. So that's all I covered today, guys. If you've got any questions, please come back to me, and just put it on YouTube, and have a good day, and I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you very much for listening to Susie, and please do look after yourself. Thank you.